Hi, I'm Dr. Emmanuel Officer, and this is A Word for Life. Of course, it's always my intention to enlighten you and bring to what I believe according to the Word of God, which is truth. And that's what we're based about. The truth is one truth. It may be told 10 different ways, but it's not 10 different truths. There's one truth viewed 10 different ways. But now, what is the truth? That's what you got to get to understanding. What I'm trying to do is empower Christians not to leave the Bible, because this is the instruction book right here, but to educate themselves in other fields, because you have men that are intelligent men in physics, they're in evolution, they're in biology, and they're in astronomy, and they have these archaeological finds, and all of these displays are now putting religion down, putting Christianity down. Actually, I don't believe in religion because that's man-made. I believe in Christianity because Christ was never called Christian. He actually was the master teacher that founded. He was God in the flesh, manifest in flesh, the Logos, the living Word incarnated, which is what this is, who came into the world to redeem us back to the inheritance we lost through the federalism of Adam. Now, there's a whole lot of things you could get into when you get into that area about men today and their moral platitude and their integrity and their decency and compromising their identities for books and CDs to sell things. But we're not going to talk about that today. I think we should educate ourselves in these fields, so when you get into these, when you're witnessing and when you get into a debate or if you do a lecture, then you have applicable tools that you can defend the apologetics of the gospel against evolution, against these things. Now, that's what I want to talk about, these things, these displays, which are used. And we're not talking about the laws of plenary motion. We're not talking about Newton or his n versus square laws, or no. We're not even talking about Einstein nor his E equals square laws. When you talk about science, it should be fairly. Observation should be fair, and you should explore all the options of those things that are true. When observation is not the true explanation, then it's not being looked at from optical center. It's being looked at from a place that's not being true. And if you just keep ignoring the facts, your data would just keep coming up wrong because you're totally and completely ignoring the facts. So you're going to get the same false evidence. The Bible tells us in the last days in the book of Timothy, it says that men's ears are going to itch for fable, make-believe. And see, we have men making up their own religions now because it sells more books and it sells more tapes. And see, I'm a firm believer that creation creates creation and ideas create ideas. But there's nothing outside of God, because God is outside of space and time. He is the voice that is, he is penetrating, or he is bringing things into existence through his external, or pervading through his external and his internal authority, but it is outside of time. Now, there are certain religions, and I won't name any religion because it's not about that. It's just about you fill in the blanks, that claim that nothing came from something. See, every time you look up, they push the goalposts back to make their ideologies fit into the square peg, but actually they're using a triangle trying to fit this ideology into it, and it's absolute foolishness. Now, if they say nothing created something, then who created the nothing? See, God is outside the nothing. He is ubiquitous. He is ineffable. He is incalculable. There are no words that can explain how he pervades eternity. He cannot be circumfused. He is splendiferous. He's grandiloquent. He's magnanimous. As he moves in his external and internal authority outside of space and time, bringing into the laws of nature. Now see, intelligent designer is too good for God. That's not a strong enough word for God. That's man-made, see. How can you put a man-made word to something that just was? That just existed outside of time. But when men who are born of women come into the world and they read books that other men wrote, books of other men wrote, as they plagiarize the Bible, tear down and pull out scriptures in the synopsis' own language according to some texts that they use as an argument against the Word of God, that's when we're in trouble. That's like the flower questioning the seed that planted it. It's like the clay questioning the sculptor. It's like Hamlet questioning Shakespeare about his part in the play. There is no inexorable, replicable, replicated evidence that steps outside the governing autonomy, nor the systematic nature that God put in it. And whenever the authority tries to leave the authority of the Word of God, it finds itself in dark, demented spaces with this unconstructed dream space with demented monsters. It's incarcerated places. There is no truth. See, some people believe that we came from nothing and they were going to nothing. You see, but that doesn't make sense. And that we came from nothing, somehow that everything spontaneously imploded itself into existence. See, but what I want the Christians to know, we don't want to mix in red shifts and blue shifts and things subatomically crossing one another and exploding into new things. We don't want to talk about plenary. We don't want to talk about the laws of physics. And then, of course, they bring in quantum effect. That's a thing to explain things that can't be explained, but they can't really explain microscopic objects. But they can only explain what they believe is the true evidence. Now, how can you view the evidence fairly if you don't explore the options of what's true? And just because you don't see it, absence is absence of evidence. If I'm not there, it doesn't mean I don't exist. Say if I'm at school, I didn't come to school today. I still exist. I'm just not there. So shouldn't fairly observating the truth be that you wait until you get any evidence, and when the data comes in, then you make your observation based on those facts? But now it takes as much faith not to believe for a non-believer as it does for me to have faith, because the non-believer completely ignores the facts over and over and over again. See, it takes something for you to ignore something that you see clearly and plainly. And this Bible says that in Timothy, around the second chapter of Timothy 3 and 5, is chapter 4, verse 3 and 5, Paul lets you know that it is clearly seen, the universe, the surroundings where it came from, but so that you're without excuse. But when you keep not letting, by using the derivative, if you don't let that derivative bring that exponent to the front, you will always come up with an improper equation. So it won't be an optical center. And you will keep efficaciously forcing your ideologies in a counter-distinctive direction, and you will keep truncating the evidence, and you will keep force your ideologies on the people when there's no truth to it. Now listen, there is no defining paradigm, or there is no law, or no ideologies that are the defining paradigm. See, everybody has a piece of the puzzle. You have a piece, they have a piece, I have a piece, but it's a picture that paints it together. But whenever you eliminate God, you eliminate your existence. You're self-sustaining. Your own existence is in denial when you say there is no God and he had nothing to do with this universe that we see. You become like the man who plants the orange tree and he's standing over the hole, and an hour later, because it has not come up, he says that oranges don't exist. Things take time to come into existence. And there are things that are being pervaded right now, even as I speak, that are coming into existence. But who made them? Who made the nothing? See, we understand that you say that nothing came from something. But who made the nothing to put the something in? Something had to be outside of that. And I say to you that that something is God. And like I said, intelligent designer is not strong enough, but he's outside of time, pervading through his external and internal authority. If we were to build a building in this room, a 5-story building, we'd have to tear down and make space. Every time you got to create something, space has to be created to put it in. So he had to make the nothing to create the creation in. Creation, ideas. But when it's the ideologies of men, those hypotheses are not the defining paradigm. They're just pieces of the puzzle. Yes, there was a Big Bang. Yes, there was an evolution. Yes, there are things that have changed throughout time, and we don't know all the things about the motions and the laws of space, and we're finding them out. But we also know that in this book, outside of the mathematics, I think Galileo was the one that said it,